In an effort to make this boat more livable, I need to set up Wi-Fi on the boat. Now, previously I had a Starlink Gen 1 dish on my other boat, and I've been using that Gen 1 dish at the workshop for the last, well, over a year, honestly. And it's mainly because of its issues. So one of them is the mounting issues. It doesn't come with the best mounts in the world, and it has to have this great big dish that has to move around. And because it's self-actuated, that means that it might angle itself against the wind pretty aggressively sometimes, and that could cause problems in a storm. Also, the power consumption. That dish sucked back 65 watts basically on the low end and all the way up to nearly 200 watts sometimes. So that was a huge power consumption for me in the wintertime when I was making not very much solar power, and every watt really counted. On this boat I have much less room for solar power, so I really wanted something a lot more efficient. Also, given the politics of the owner of Starlink, I wasn't super jazzed about going with Starlink again. I was trying to find some other options and do a little bit of research. As it turns out, the CEOs and owners of a lot of these companies are on Epstein's Island accusations and a lot of other dubious financial crimes. That being said, they're not goose-stepping down the streets, so, you know, they're not good people. None of them are good people. I'm gonna go ahead and say that as a blanket statement. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just there's not too many other great options when it comes to a massive quantity of data. The big thing for me with Starlink is because right now I am running a lot of stuff through Dropbox and through uploading YouTube videos and uploading 4K, sometimes 60 FPS videos. It is an incredible data hog, and my data consumption per month is over 1 terabyte sometimes. And to get that through other means than a Starlink dish is kind of difficult. So I was going through some of the data plans, and basically, if you want to get a plan that's going to be less than 200 gigabytes worth of consumption, and I mean, for most people in Canada, it's a lot less than 200 gigabytes, then you can go for a cell phone provider. And I've got one of these sticks that I'm going to install in the boat that basically allows me to turn two SIM cards into a Wi-Fi network for the boat. That's a great solution. A lot of people use them in vehicles because you're around infrastructure all the time, and that works really well. But for certain countries like Canada, where cell phone packages are extremely expensive and where coverage is not the best. I live here on the west coast of Canada. There's a ton of mountains here, and the cell towers are blocked out 90% of the time when you're traveling around. So it really isn't the best option, both for price and for coverage in this country. And that's where the Starlink really excels. Now, going with Starlink, I had basically two options. I could have gone with the Mini or the Gen 3. And I decided to go with the Gen 3, and that's mainly because my boat is 51 feet on deck, a little bit longer overall, and I wasn't super confident that a Mini's built-in router that's sitting in the actual dish itself could reach all of the boat. Now, it probably could have, no problem, but it just made the whole installation a little bit trickier. And I had the space for a larger dish, and it costs roughly the same. So I said, why not? Let's just get the Gen 3 dish, and we'll use our Trio flat mount to install it on the mizzen mast and make it nice and tidy. So before I get too carried away, I just want to show what's inside these boxes, because they did send these out for free. They're not paying me, but they did send it out for free, and it's going to make my job a little bit simpler. Installation with solar and with anything really on a boat is always kind of the hardest thing, and so if I can make that a little bit easier, I am usually game. So it comes in two separate pieces. Basically, it clips onto the dish, and that mounts down onto the deck. So pretty simple installation, really. They also sent out their 12-volt conversion kit. It's a pretty basic bulk converter. It converts the 12 volt up to 56 volts, and that's what the Starlink dish needs. So that way I can run it straight off the batteries, no inverter necessary whatsoever. So you have a few different options on how you want to mount your Trio flat mount. In my case, I'm using just the outermost holes because they can be accessed from the top of the mount while the Starlink is already in there, and that's just easier for me. I'm not super worried about extra holes on the surface. There are other mounts underneath for rubberized feet and other things if you're worried about vibration. But in my case, since it's up the mast, I'm not really worried about that kind of thing. And this makes my mounting a lot easier. Now I just have to put the holes in my piece of aluminum, mount it onto the mast, and then mount my flat mount Trio to the piece of aluminum on the mast on the mount, and wire it all up. Okay, so with the Starlink dish is now installed on the mizzen mast, we have the cabling run down the mast, which is really nice and clean. I've actually got everything cocked in and looking great. Now, wouldn't you know it, as soon as I went to go fire up the speed test and go check my numbers, I had an issue and I had to go back up the mast, unbolt it, and re-plug in that cable. Now hopefully that doesn't happen again, but if it does, I will take that bottom plate that I made off and drill a hole, an inspection hole in the bottom of it. It's not really for waterproofing there, it's just to mount it, so I could have a gaping hole in the bottom of it and that's just fine. The dish on its own is fairly waterproof and it's designed to take rain from above, and it shouldn't be taking any waves halfway up the mizzen mast, but there you go. I think it will be fine. We'll see how it fares to the salt air after all this time. We've done some speed tests and we are sitting at about 350 megabits per second with a 20 megabit per second upload speed. So a lot less on the upload than the download, and then we're still getting that 20 to 25 millisecond ping time. So really, those are great numbers. You're not gonna find anything that fast really on cell reception, especially when you're sailing to remote locations like this boat is going to do. But once I get to Asia, for instance, I might reconsider having the Starlink dish active, switch it to passive mode or standby mode, and then start paying for data packages there, because data packages in Asia are so much cheaper than they are here in Canada. To get anywhere near the same amount of data that I'm using right now on my Starlink dish would be in the ballpark of $1,000 a month nearly. So that's not really a sustainable thing. Of course, I would tailor my data usage much down from that. So if you're going to use less than 200 gigabytes or 150 gigabytes, maybe more for Canada. If you're gonna use less than that, then you should start maybe looking at data packages, because they'll get to that point where they're under $150 a month, which is what my Starlink dish is costing me right now since I'm not roaming. Once I go to roaming, it'll be like 185 or something like that. It's not cheap. So it's just, I live in a country where everything is so expensive that it doesn't feel as expensive anymore compared to literally anything else. But there you go, everything's expensive. Most of it sucks. In this case, the internet's pretty damn quick, so at least I have that. Big thank you to Trio Flat Mount, who don't make an expensive product and make installation so much simpler. Please check out the link in the description to get yours. It'll make your installation so much easier if you have a camper, an RV, a boat, any application where you're gonna bolt it down to a roof somewhere. That's what you want. It's low profile, it's super clean and super easy, and gives you a few different options on how you'd like to set it up. They also come with a 12-volt dongle, so you can wire it directly to your 12-volt battery and bypass your inverter entirely, which is great for those of you running a smaller system that you don't want to have your inverter powered on all the time to run these applications, and it's a little bit more power efficient than converting voltages all those times. It converts it just once, DC to DC, much more efficient. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Flat Mount for sponsoring this episode. I hope this was enlightening to you. See you guys next week.